Hello everybody and welcome to a quick little list video here at Playing Board Games. I'm Justin, this is Eric, and this is an Eric list video where Eric is going to rank all the campaigns they have played so far from their least favorite to their most favorite. And then I just basically get to go, oh wow, this is one that you get to talk, and I gotta be the one going, that's cool, nice.
Remember to hunch as much as possible at all times.
I'll just go like this.
Yeah,
How's it
perfect.
going?
Thank you.
All right, so Eric, I don't have numbers for this, but there are you've only played, what, 6 campaigns?
Apparently I've only played 6 campaigns. I thought it was more.
I also thought it was more. Yeah, you've only played 6 campaigns, so it's pretty easy, 6-1. So let's start with your least favorite campaign so far, which is...
The Circle Undone. So, Justin brought up a really good point just before we started filming this, which was recording this, which was just that it would be interesting to see how these are going to handle if I ever do replays of them, and I really like to do replays of some of them, because will the luster of the story versus the mechanics really play out? And the Circle Undone, especially for me, is going to be interesting on that one. I found the Circle Undone story to be... Listen, Fantasy Flight Games, I think you're doing a great job, and I love what you're doing, but this was narratively incoherent. I didn't understand half of why I was where I was, why I was doing it, who were my enemies, and why they would suddenly switch opinions. There was a ghost woman chasing me a whole bunch, and then she left, and then she came back, but she wasn't a big deal anymore. And there was something about alternate dimensions and being in the Silent Hill fog, which should have been mechanically my favorite thing. I love the idea of the mist rolls in and the world changes. But it's really given me a stronger appreciation for characters in video games who are like, what's happening? Yeah. Because I didn't know. Yeah. And it killed everything about the Circle Undone for me. And it also felt like there was a lot of... bad mechanics in terms of we're just going to hurt you. So, like, accept your fate at the very beginning of the game. Yes, I get it. This is a game about being heroics. This is a Pulp Fiction-y story about free will versus destiny and blah, 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 blah. But to just randomly be like, okay, now you hurt because you made a one-off, one-note choice, and that's completely changing the scale of the campaign and the mechanics of the campaign for you for the remainder of the time. If you don't telegraph things well, it never is a feel-good moment. I love failing at games, but I need to know why I failed and not feel like I just made the wrong binary choice.
Well, big thing about the choosing your fate versus not is the only thing that it really impacts is that, and this was bad for you because it gives you the Tower and the Ace of Rods. And unfortunately, Ace of Rods is not a good card, and it doesn't make up for the negatives of the Tower. In the Return to, there's a different version, where it's like a different effect. I'm pretty sure it gives you a tarot reading for the campaign or something like that, which I think is actually a nice change. To echo what you were saying, Circle Undone is my second or third least favorite campaign. For not reasons that you have stated, but I think your reasons are very common that people have with the Circle Undone. Notably, this is not to refute your points because I think your points are fair, but Travis, who is a big Lovecraft lore hound, says that there's actually a lot to really unpack in the lore if you get into it for this one. So that is a point for this one. I think it does a good job of communicating it. And unfortunately, there is a big lore drop in the middle, but you have to make very specific decisions to get there, which was, unfortunately, a choice, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I have no problem with locking certain things like that, and I would love to talk with Lovecraft lorehounds on why they like this one. Because yeah, for me, it was like I was getting hints at all the stuff I do like about the Lovecraftian lore, or at least love in a problematic way, but yeah, without getting that big lore drop, without getting some of the hooks into what was going on, I was like, I don't... And then stuff happens.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. I'm with you 100%. Let's go to your number 5, which is...
Yeah, this was so pulpy, and it really feels like a good experiment and a good first try into the concept of how do we make failing the campaign feel narratively satisfying, and also have the idea of failures at various scenarios actually mean something and actually be kind of planned for. Like, how do we make a scenario where you're expected to fail and that kind of is fun because you get to revisit it and come back and absolutely clear. Which is a great idea. I really hope Fantasy Flight Games tries it again. But this was not a good attempt. I'm glad they had tried it. I think they should try it again, but I think Forgotten Age was not a good attempt at it. There was so much focus on Forgotten Age of the idea of doing the same thing over again and getting different results. Assuming that you were going to fail. And those failures were punishing. If you're going to have a campaign where it feels like you're supposed to lose the first campaign, the first scenario, don't pair it with poison counters. Don't pair it with a mechanical system of planning for the jungle that doesn't have a one-to-one connectivity in terms of what makes sense. Like, why did I need food? Why did I need a light? Those were fun little reveals as you went, but by combining all of those together with so many unknowns happening, the player was like, okay, I'm venomed, Yig is angry, I failed the first scenario, I'm gonna come back to it and do much better, but also, oh no, I didn't bring a ladder because I didn't know why I needed that ladder. And so it just feels like the game was way too much focused on making the players lose. Which I don't think is a bad space. I actually think... I think scenarios and campaigns designed for you to lose is a fun space. But Forgotten Age was too much of that, too hard, too fast, and it was too much of a snowball away from player control.
So this is very interesting to hear you say all this, because I think that Forgotten Age has the meanest blind play for the exact reasons you say. And generally, like it happened with Travis, Bryn, and I, Forgotten Age was ranked very low on our first play, but it goes very high on repeat plays, because that initial shock of like, what supplies do I choose goes down. So I'm curious to see how that goes, if we do this in a few years, how that might change or not. Because I think you're 100% right. It sounds very similar to like our initial critiques, which were that supplies kind of suck and you're in the jungle too many times,
And you know what? If that was the intention of Forgotten Age, was that it was one where you were supposed to fail the campaign the first few times, or the first time, and then play it again and come back to it. Like if the whole idea behind Forgotten Age was the replayability of multiple runs, Forgotten Age is probably great, and I'm probably going to love it. As someone doing blind plays and only doing one campaign at a time,
yes,
I have a strong urge to never go back to Forgotten Age, because I'm like, it just hurt.
No, totally. So I'm just fixing a light. Russ
just wants to be close to the sun.
So I'm just going to go. There we go. All right. Next up, number 4 is The Path to Carcosa. My favorite campaign.
I wanted to like this one better. It has some of what I think are the best scenarios in it. But it also, like the party scenario is so good. But so much of it didn't feel good. And like, the more time I spend away from Path to Carcosa, the more I'm having this weird effect of Path to Carcosa where I'm forgetting everything about it except for the really sick party and the really bad final. The really bad final mission. And that tells me, unfortunately, that for me with Path to Carcosa, a lot of it just felt super vague and super generic. No, wait, this is the one that has the asylum.
It does have the asylum.
I hate this one. Okay, it's back. We're here. The asylum was bad. I didn't like the asylum. The asylum was my problem with the rest of Path to Carcosa in a nutshell, where, once again, it felt like things were kind of happening, and they didn't have to happen in order, but if they didn't happen in order, they didn't make sense. Like, how was I setting fire to the kitchen in a mental asylum while surrounded by guards? Very strange. Very weird very weird moment. I would like to play this one again. I'm also curious to see how it is replayability, because I feel like there was a lot of like secret paths or possible divergences that I just never even saw the way to take. And like all the Carcosa stories are my favorite stories. So having this one not land for me just felt really bad. I think that actually makes it worse than it would normally be.
Very fair. Yeah.
Yeah. When I'm like, I'm ready for Carcosa to be good. Holy cow, this opening with the party was so good, was so what I wanted. Yeah. And then so many of the other scenarios, I was just like, I don't care, and I don't know why I care.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of meta in Path to Carcosa that I think evolves more when you understand the game better, right? Like, there's some meta in the design that's like, I even have an answer for your setting fire to the kitchen, but I don't want to explain it yet.
I love that.
Yeah, but there actually is, like, but I guess the thing is, I feel like there's a lot of neat stuff to unpack in Path to Carcosa, but I don't want to just like list it all out to you.
No, because then I would not replay it. I'll be honest. Like, I do want to replay Path to Carcosa, unlike the Forgotten Age, because I feel like it's going to get better on a replay. And I really I want to see what they do with so much that's in Path to Carcosa that I just fell flat for me.
To me, what makes Path to Carcosa my favorite is the scenario design, and you're right, they are very good, and like they are very replayable for small little choices. But I think that it all makes sense with what you said for all of your points for why it didn't really resonate with you. And I also did not enjoy the finale on my first play, and I have had such a bad win rate with the finale in my recent plays too. So, yeah, I don't know. I just haven't been able to win Dim Carcosa in forever, so it's kind of a sticking point for me. But yeah. All right, we're into the top 3, and we're gonna go to the Dream Eaters.
Okay, I like the Dream Eaters for one of the same reasons that I like my number 1 pick, which you're all gonna love and agree with me unilaterally. No disagreements. Yeah. Because the Dream Eaters was another scenario where I felt like the story was taking place after the established story about Dream Quest to Unknown Kadath. Like, the Dream Eaters is Dream Quest to Unknown Kadath 2.
Yes.
Return to Kadath.
Yes.
And I thought that they telegraphed it really well, even though I was screaming about it the whole campaign and knew what was going on. Yeah. And I loved it. I loved their decision to do what they did with the story, to explain why the story was happening the way it should have. I thought Dream Eaters did a really good job of being like, let's play 2 different groups, doing 2 different weird things. And I was like, okay, this is not bad. Like, it's actually kind of fun to switch between these 2 groups, and it's actually kind of fun to do these kinds of things. The weakest part, I think, of Dream Quest Unknown Kadath and why it takes Dream Eaters, and why it takes the 3rd slot for me is twofold. As cool as it was to have 2 separate campaigns, it did not feel like the spider was really connected to what was actually happening in the rest of the story.
100%.
Felt like a bad connection there, especially because of how well they did the entire spider vibe and spider situation. I would have really liked to see a full campaign focused on the spider.
And that's very fair.
And the weird stuff going on with the spider infecting reality.
Yep.
That was cool.
No, I agree. That actually would be, not to interrupt, but I do think, like, if there was like a few scenarios just in Arkham where there were spider things happening, that would be really cool.
Yeah, they did it so good.
Yeah.
And then the second one is that the journeying mechanic in the Dream Eaters did not feel good. It felt like one of my biggest problems sometimes with games like this when they try to go globetrotting. In this case, globetrotting in the Dream Realms, where you're just like, great, I showed up at this place and things happened and then I left. And this feels like an entire campaign setting I just flew over top of and then left.
Yeah.
I also think that didn't do a very good job. I actually think I would have enjoyed that even, because there were a few of them where I was just like, okay, this location's really cool.
Yeah.
This is a really weird moment that we're having, and I love it. I think it would be better, too, if the game, again, better telegraphed what it means to take some events before other events. If you're going to do a big, I'm traveling across the world, I'm traveling to different islands, try to tell me better and more clearly as a new player why the future islands are going to be worse, or why I'm going to miss out on things. I don't feel they did that very well.
So one thing I like to do is, as I learn more what Eric's likes, try to predict what... by the way, I agree, because while I personally really like The Search for Gadath, you're right. I would have loved a full campaign exploring Sarnath and like Backrug and all that.
Yeah.
That would be really cool. But one thing I like doing, knowing how Eric forms their positivity, and you should do this in chat too. You should make your predictions for the remaining official campaigns: Innsmouth, Edge of the Earth, Hemlock, Scarlet Keys. Not a good sign that I almost forgot Scarlet Keys. Of which one Eric thinks Eric's gonna like or not, knowing what you know. I think Eric's gonna, knowing all this, is gonna despise Scarlet Keys, and also knowing what you think about globetrotting in general and Arkham. That one I'm very curious about, and I think you're gonna like. I think you're gonna like Hemlock as a DM. I think you are, and I feel like you're gonna vibe with Edge of the Earth and Innsmouth as well. I'm curious.
I'm really hoping for Innsmouth.
Yeah.
I'm also really hoping for Edge of the Earth because I feel like Edge of the Earth feels like a campaign I normally see done badly in games, and I'm hopeful.
Yeah. Edge of the Earth has a little bit of baggage, but it like Dream Eaters, it's kind of like the sequel to the original short story, which is really nice. All right, I have nothing else to add to Dream Eaters. I think what you said was all pretty legit. Let's go to your number 2, which is Dark Matter.
Dark Matter is the Dream Eaters, but better. Dark Matter is, for me, Carcosa, but better. It is one of my favorite villains. It is a completely wild take on the setting that makes it science fiction in a way that also still feels very Lovecraftian and very pulpy, which is really, really good. It touches on a bunch of my favorite sci-fi horror tropes without really getting lost in the sauce, which is really, really great. I think it has one of the best attempts at telegraphing why your globe-trotting matters and why your timing on your globe-trotting matters. The entire section about...
Yeah, the 3 middle scenarios?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Is actually really well done mechanically and really well done story-wise.
It's my favorite part of Dark Matter. I agree 100%.
Yeah, if the Dream Eaters had been more like that for the islands, I probably would move Dream Eaters up above this one.
Yeah, yeah.
This one also has spoilers. I'm going to give you 2 seconds. A giant gun.
Yes, it
and
does.
You can shoot the ancient old one with a giant gun.
Yes, yeah, you can.
And that's sick.
Yeah.
I will say the weakest part, I think, of Dark Matter is the very, very positive ending we got, which did not make sense to me, given how the scenario played out as we were playing it. I was like, we have still lost. We're just stopping the monster from consuming all of humanity. And then it was like, actually, no, everything's fine. The sun rises, beauty and dreams and joy. And I was like, that makes no sense.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think it's one of the best ones.
So what's very interesting is to go what you were saying about Search for Gadath, where it's like you feel like you were just skimming over like campaigns worth of environment, to know, and I told you this when we were playing, to know that those scenarios came afterwards because Axolotl designed more based from the finale for like the 3 zones, I think is a really cool idea of why spending more time in areas that are just pit stops can actually be really compelling.
Absolutely.
All right. And now Eric's number 1, which if you're paying attention is going to be no surprise, but might be a surprise to some of you, is the Dunwich Legacy.
Dunwich Legacy is so good. I might be having like, what is your favorite Elder
Morrowind,
Scrolls? Yeah, and for me it will always be Morrowind.
Oblivion for me, the first one you play is always your favorite.
So listen, is it mechanically the best? No. Is it an incredible follow-up to one of the creepiest Lovecraft stories that Lovecraft ever wrote? Yes. Does it maintain the creepiness? Yes. Does it have you doing all the classics, all the Lovecraftian classics, wandering around Arkham for a little bit like an idiot, going to a university like an idiot, do you then go out to some poor forgotten part of Americana and meet a bunch of sad sack locals who then need your help from just a complete cluster of situations that are happening? Does it feel, does the later half of the campaign feel like season 1 of True Detective in terms of the ancient evil is connected to some rotten fool who has no idea what he's doing? Yes, and fabulous. Is the train mechanically sick? And anyone who has a problem with it, I'm sorry, you're wrong. It's great. What a great way to end to fail. What a great way to screw up. But also, I don't know why we survived it. We should have just died. And on top of all of that, there is so much weird meta joy in the Dunwich Legacy. And so much like we are Lovecraft enthusiasts. Oh, and the mobsters. You deal with mobsters. Why do you deal with mobsters? Who cares? It's so good. It's so pulpy 1920s Lovecraft to just have these mobsters and then watch the mobsters fight eldritch horrors and be like, yeah, half of these characters are criminals fighting monsters. It makes sense that the club was able to fight back. Like, enough bullets kind of solves the problem. There is such a joy, some spoilers coming up, there's such a joy in how dumb the game gets when all of the Watley beasts are running around and you have to catch them. It's mechanically fun, it's extremely engaging, but it's also just very like I'm hearing clown rodeo music as we're just like, oh no, the horrors got into the chicken coop, and you're chasing them down, and somehow that doesn't feel like it doesn't connect with the horror and with the way that the story is told. I just don't think they've done a better job than Dunwich Legacy at being Lovecraft. And it's just so good. I
mean, I can't say you're wrong. Like, that's the thing. Like, I really, I think Circle Undone is the closest without, talking about the story structure. You know, like the witches and the warlocks having a fight. Like, that's very, old school weird horror. But Dunwich does it very well. Like, we haven't... that's a lie. I was like, we haven't gone somewhere where there's a creepy-ass cult. We just did that in Hemlock. But, it is. It has that kind of thing. Well, I'm higher on Dunwich than most other people. A big reason for that is that the scenarios, I think, as a whole, even though they have their warts, are very fun. I'm starting to become, I know you like Undimensioned and Unseen. It might still be your favorite scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'm growing on it because it's true. It's just kind of it's a fun campaign. I'm with you. Yeah.
We were cracking jokes about how weird it was that a bunch of farmhands were like, you gotta help us stop the horrors. And I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
What's happening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, those are Eric's campaigns so far. Once we get through the rest, we'll definitely revisit this list, maybe also after a playthrough or two. But thank you for sharing your thoughts with me, Eric. And thank you to everyone who was watching at home. Let us know what you think of these down in the comments. Eric does usually read the comments on...
Religiously, in fact. I'm obsessed with reading the comments.
So yeah, say hi to Eric in the comments. Don't worry about me. I'm just always here.
I will probably never say hi back, but maybe one day I will respond in a post.
Maybe you like it, and that's how you say hi.
That would be good. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, everybody. If you want to support the channel, you can do so by commenting, liking, subscribing, or if you want to go above and beyond, you can join all the names down here and join our Patreon page where you get deck lists and gameplay videos and a Patreon game day every month. In the meantime, thanks for watching. Have a good one, and as always, a GG's.